Many Bothan spies died to bring you these Rogue One reviews. Yeah, I know that that's a Return of the Jedi reference. However, I feel like it still works. Welcome to Nerdist News! The very first public screenings of Rogue One start about 48 hours from now, but with the review embargo lifted and every critic in the galaxy now chiming in with an opinion, Star Wars fans face a mission more impossible than getting on the Death Star undetected, getting into theaters without spoilers. Yes! Even with the ultimate outcome of the movie given away nearly 4 decades ago by the opening crawl of A New Hope, there are still plenty of secrets that viewers want to discover for themselves. Who lives? Who dies? Who makes creepy post-mortem cameos? Well, we're not going to tell you. But if the recent rumors about reshoots and rewrites have got you nervous, then we've got you covered. We've read through all of the big reviews and we're giving you a spoiler-free breakdown right here, right now, as soon as I scratch my nose, because it's itchy. Okay, so the big question is, how does this standalone Star Wars film stack up to the trilogies that preceded it? Well, we are happy to report that Rogue One appears to be the first prequel that belongs on the same planet as the originals. More than a few people even go so far as to call it the best entry in the franchise since The Empire Strikes Back. And with all apologies to George Lucas and J.J. Abrams, one of the big reasons for all of the love is the new director at the helm. Critics are championing the darker tone that former Godzilla wrangler Gareth Edwards brings to the galaxy far, far away. Brian Lowry at CNN says Rogue One does feel different from the main movies, darker, grittier, much closer in tone to an old war movie. That's a sentiment that's expanded upon by Chris Bombay at Joe Blow's Movie Emporium, who says, "This is exactly what Edwards always said he was going to make, a Star Wars war film. Anyone who thought it would be watered down should think again." Gareth's expertise with an action scene is also garnering him a great deal of praise. CNN says that there are a few sequences that prove genuinely thrilling, and Soren Anderson at the Seattle Times adds, "The action sequences, both on the ground and in space, are rousingly staged." Now, in addition to all the war movie comparisons, a lot of critics are also favorably comparing Rogue One to some of cinema's classic heist films. And like all good heists, a lot of that success rests on the shoulders of its colorful cast of criminals. Almost everyone in the Rogue One crew gets called out in one review or another for their stellar performances. Forrest Wickham at Slate says that as Jyn Erso, Felicity Jones subtly conveys the fire that the Empire has never quite extinguished. Jen Yamato at the Daily Beast calls Donnie Yen the film's secret weapon as blind warrior monk Chirrut Imwe. And over at Variety, Peter DeBruge claims that all the best lines belong to K2SO, the reprogrammed enforcer droid voiced by Alan Tudyk. But more than anything, most critics agree that the strengths of Rogue One's ensemble are greater than any single performer, and a lot of them take time to call attention to how diverse this new group of non-Skywalkers is. The film is carried by a strong female lead, says Yamato, backed by the most multicultural supporting cast in the entire 4-decade franchise. And speaking of that 4-decade franchise, will Rogue One have any major callbacks to the Star Wars of yesteryear? You better believe it. The majority of reviews make this movie sound like a field day for Easter egg hunters. Of course, that doesn't sit so well with some critics who feel it's too beholden to the Star Wars brand. In one of the film's few outright negative reviews, A.O. Scott at the New York Times says, "The only force at work here is the force of habit," and Richard...
Sick burn.
Oh, I didn't realize you were going to interrupt me. And Richard Brody at The New Yorker says Rogue One isn't so much a movie as a feature-length promotional film for itself.
Oh, shots fired.
That's better. But thankfully, those reviews seem to be the outlier opinions. In the end, the general consensus on Rogue One, even with all of its fan service, is that this is a stirring, exciting, and most of all, original entry to the most popular sci-fi fantasy series of all time. Sarah Stewart at the New York Post calls it definitive proof that Star Wars is back, baby, and Jim Varell at Paste Magazine calls it a triumphantly thrilling, serious-minded war movie that is incalculably stronger for the fact that it's not the first chapter in a new franchise. Or perhaps more succinctly, put by the New York Daily News, this is the new hope for the Star Wars franchise. But hey, as much as we love other critics, we have the internet's most lovable film critic right here, Kyle Anderson.
Hi, thanks everybody. Thank you so much.
I will go so far as to say even more lovable than Dan Casey.
Oh, I think that's accurate.
It really is. All right, so he saw Rogue One over the weekend, and
True.
he's going to give us his inside intel right now. So Kyle, where do you come down on the film, the prequel done right, or is it a feature-length Star Wars commercial, and you got to do this without giving us any spoilers?
No spoilers. I think it is the prequel done right. I actually was a big fan of the movie.
Okay.
I thought that It had a lot of the stuff that the prequels didn't have, which were kind of heart and it felt real, which was a big thing that I didn't like about the prequels. I thought the direction by Gareth Edwards was fantastic.
Yep.
There's a lot of handheld stuff, and it just felt like an actual war movie. And there's definitely a lot of references to the original trilogy, especially Episode 4, which makes sense because we're leading directly into it.
Yeah.
If I have any kind of like criticism about it, is that stuff really ramps up by the end of the movie, and so you kind of lose the new characters a little bit. But I think for a Star Wars fan, there is no better ending than the last like 30 minutes of Rogue One. I think it's exciting and it has all the references that you could possibly need.
Perfect. All right, so is there anything that we should know? Should we shell out for IMAX, or is there any post-credit secret or scenes that we need to stick around for?
There's no post-credit scenes. I would definitely shell out for IMAX. It's a big movie. It's got a lot going on, and like I was saying, that finale is so big, and you really want to see the scope of the AT-ATs walking over our heroes and stuff like that. So
You mean the AT-ATs?
Yeah.
Sure.
Is that what you mean, Kyle?
I meant the AT-ATs. I apologize.
Goddamn right, that's what you meant, Kyle.
Yes. Walking over our heroes, and you want the scale and the size of all of them.
Awesome.
Whatever their names are.
Those poor dead bastards.
Yes.
All right, so thanks, Kyle. That wraps
Sure.
it all up. You guys have a chance to chime in with your Rogue One opinion soon enough when you see it this Thursday, because let's face it, we all know you got them opening day ticks. Till then, did this review roundup get you more excited for Rogue One, and do you think that the movie will really revolutionize this aging franchise? Let's discuss. Speaking of Rogue One, we've got an all-new toy smash. It's pretty much the best worst island. Jeez.
Really excited for Toy Smash.
Best worst island of misfit toys ever. As we smash Rudolph with Rogue One.
Oh man!
Jesus, Mike. It actually does look legit. You guys should check it out. The full episode of Mothership is up. Watch as Hector and I get our hands in some nasty zombie stuff. I think
That's good too.
that was good. Yeah. All right, guys, head on over to Nerdist.com and don't forget to like and subscribe for more Nerdist news. I'm gonna kill you if you interrupt me one more time!